So today, my broskis, I brought something that you probably didn't expect me to bring. Put on that cowboy hat, pull out the dusty old revolver, and get those cowboy boots ready, because today we are heading straight into the Wild West. Let's go!
But John Wesley might have been a different story. I didn't learn until later that that night was in fact his birthday celebration.
I'm of course talking about Call of Juarez, and more specifically, Gunslinger. Now when it comes to cowboy first-person shooters, Call of Juarez is probably still the best franchise out there. Well, at least when we're talking about the original games, Bound in Blood and Gunslinger. The first two of them are still my personal favorites. Then came the Cartel, where they moved the series into modern times for some strange reason, and yeah, that was absolutely not where Call of Juarez belonged. It lost the Wild West setting, it lost most of its identity, and it just wasn't particularly fun at all. But then, there was Gunslinger, a game that I had somehow never played before. I recently got this massive craving for some cowboy first-person shooter action, saw it sitting on Steam for about 1.5 buckaroonies and thought screw it, let's finally see what this game is all about. And holy crap, my broskis, this game is actually so much fun. Now, I still don't think it's quite as good as the original Call of Juarez or Bound in Blood, so if you never played those two, I would highly recommend checking them out as well. You might need to install one of those modernization or community fixes floating around online, but once that's done, they should run smoothly most of the time. Gunslinger though? It doesn't need any of that. It was released back in 2013, you simply install it, boot it up, and it works. And despite being around 13 years old now, it has aged ridiculously well. The first thing that completely sold me was the gunplay. The very first shot I fired with those goddamn revolvers, oof. Yeah, the audio, the impact, the hit feedback, it feels so goddamn good in this game. The revolvers, they are obviously the star of the show, but the shotguns and rifles feel fantastic as well. Now, there are only 3 main weapon categories in this game, but each one has different versions. You got things like ranger revolvers, fast quick shooters, regular rifles, shortened rifles, full-length shotguns, sawed-off shotguns, and a few other variations. They don't completely transform the gameplay, but they feel different enough, and every single one is so freakishly satisfying to fire. And that is exactly what I want when I'm craving cowboy action. I want to walk into a dusty town, spin the revolver, and blast some bandits' heads off. And Gunslinger does that extremely well.
We've got company!
But where Gunslinger differs the most from the earlier games is the way that the story is presented. At the beginning, you enter a saloon where people recognize you as this legendary gunslinger. They start asking whether all the stories about you are actually true, and from there you begin retelling your adventures. So you're not simply playing through the story here, you're playing through someone's memory of the story. The main character narrates almost constantly while you're running around, shooting people and exploring the levels. And I know that might sound annoying because he really does talk a lot, but personally, I thought it was incredibly well done. The narration reacts to what's happening while you're playing. If he says he entered a cave, the environment might suddenly change and reveal that cave. If he remembers something differently, the entire level can shift around you. And I think that is just such a brilliant and fun idea, honestly. And sometimes other people inside the saloon interrupt him and questions whether something actually happened that way, forcing him to correct the story. It creates this really playful relationship between the narration and the actual gameplay. At times I almost felt like I was sitting inside that goddamn saloon myself, listening to this ridiculous cowboy tell his stories. The writing, it is funny, the voice acting is excellent, and it gives the whole campaign a personality that most shooters simply do not have.
What happened next?
Well, having removed the first bundle of dynamite, I decided I might as well remove the other one. Once that was done, I figured I'd find my way from there.
And that also brings me to mission variety. It is surprisingly good here. You fight through dusty towns, trains, mines, caves, canyons, and several other classic Wild West locations. There are these regular gunfights, larger shootouts, a couple of simple boss encounters, and duels against some of the more important characters. And the dueling mechanic is actually more developed than I expected. You need to keep your hand positioned close to the revolver while also keeping your focus on the enemy. The better you manage the both of the things, the faster and more accurate you become when it's finally time to draw that gun.
They got it wrong. A sad end for those two.
And overall, the game itself can also become surprisingly challenging at times. You do have abilities to help you out though, like slow-mo and focus, but despite it being so difficult that I actually died a few times, it never felt unfair or completely unmanageable. But I definitely did die a few times. And parts of that actually also comes down to my biggest issue with the game, which is enemy readability. A lot of the environments are filled with brown rocks, brown buildings, dusty ground, and enemies wearing similarly colored clothing. Many of them have red bandanas or other little details to make them stand out, but sometimes it still isn't enough. There were moments where I got shot several times before I even realized where the enemy was actually standing. But don't get me wrong here, it is far from catastrophic. It never ruined the game for me, but better readability would have allowed me to play faster and feel even more like an unstoppable gunslinger. And my other complaint is simply the length of the game. The main campaign only takes around 5 hours to finish. It is short, but there is some replayability to it, for we have abilities, upgrades, secrets, scoring systems and so on, that depending on how you spec your abilities the first time you play, you might want to replay it because you want to spec differently, or you want to look for more secrets, or you're hunting those high scores. So yeah, there is some replayability to it, but I was having so much fun with this game that I would happily have played it for a few more hours, honestly. And I don't say that all that often. So overall, my broskies, yep, Call of Juarez Gunslinger holds up incredibly well. The gunplay is satisfying, the storytelling is creative, the missions are varied, and it works straight out of the box without needing to install a bunch of fixes. So if you're craving some Wild West shooting, this is still one of the easiest Cowboy FPS games to recommend. And if you're like me and somehow managed to skip Gunslinger all these years, do it. Load those revolvers, hunt down some bandits, and have some freaking fun. And if you want even more awesome brutal first-person shooter just like this, remember to hit that like and subscribe. And Papa Slim, he will see you in the next one. Over and out.